The Pahalgam terror attack, a strike that claimed 26 innocent civilian lives, it was a line crossed, a gauntlet thrown down. In the corridors of power in New Delhi, the response was being forged, not in the fires of rhetoric, but in the cold calculus of modern warfare. This would be a response unlike any before. This would be Operation Sindoor. The directive from the highest levels of the Indian government was unprecedented in its clarity and scope. The armed forces were given full operational freedom. No restrictions, no half measures. The objective was to deliver a punitive, decisive blow against the architects of terror and the state infrastructure that supported them. For the Indian Air Force, this meant preparing for a conflict that would test its men, its machines, and its very doctrine to the limit. As the first waves of the operation commenced on May 7th, the world watched, holding its breath. The initial phase involved precision strikes by the Indian Army's special forces and missile regiments, targeting terror launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But the true heart of Operation Sindoor would be fought in the air, a battle of technology, tactics, and nerve. The Pakistan Air Force, the PAF, scrambled to respond, its fighters roaring into the sky to challenge the Indian incursion. For decades, the PAF had relied on its ability to contest its airspace, to use its own aerial assets to deter and engage. But this time, they were flying into a new reality. They were flying into the kill box of the S400. India's acquisition of the Russian-made S400 Triumph air defense system had been a subject of intense geopolitical debate. On the battlefields of May 2025, it became the silent, decisive arbiter of the skies. Deployed in a strategic network across the Western Front, the S400 batteries were integrated into the Indian Air Force's Integrated Air Command and Control System, or IACCS. This created a seamless web of sensors, fusing data from the S400's powerful 91N6E Big Bird acquisition radar with inputs from Israeli and indigenous radars, AWACS aircraft, and even naval assets. It provided the IAF with a god's-eye view of the battle space, stretching hundreds of kilometers into Pakistani territory. The PAF pilots, confident in their machines and training, found themselves fighting a ghost. Their electronic warfare suites screamed warnings of being painted by powerful radars, but the source was impossibly distant. Probing attacks were met with a lethal response before they could even get within range to deploy their own standoff weapons. The S-400's layered defense, armed with a cocktail of missiles like the 40N6E for extreme long-range targets and the 48N6 for closer, more agile threats, created a virtual wall, a curtain of steel that the PAF could not penetrate. The first confirmed kills came swiftly. A formation of Pakistani fighters attempting to intercept an IAF strike package was engaged. Before they knew what was happening, missiles traveling at hypersonic speeds were upon them. The IAF would later confirm 5 fighter jets downed by the S-400 system in these initial aerial clashes. But the system's crowning achievement was yet to come. It was an engagement that would be studied in war colleges for generations. On the radar screens at a command center in India, a high-value target appeared, a large, slow-moving aircraft flying a surveillance pattern nearly 300 kilometers away, deep inside Pakistan. It was identified as a Saab 2000 Iri, an airborne early warning and control aircraft, the eyes and ears of the PAF's air defense network. Taking down such a critical asset was a priority. A command was given. From a launcher hundreds of kilometers away, a 40N6E missile ignited, climbing to the edge of the atmosphere before arcing down towards its unsuspecting prey. For the crew of the Pakistani AWACS, there was no warning, no time to react. The missile, a silent spear from an unseen enemy, found its mark. The resulting fireball, a brief, brilliant star in the sky, was captured by Indian surveillance satellites. In a press conference on August 9th, Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh would call it the largest ever recorded surface-to-air kill. A testament to a technological dominance that had reshaped the very rules of engagement. While the S-400 established a defensive shield, the IAF's offensive arm went to work with devastating precision. The strategy was not just to win the air battle, but to cripple the PAF on the ground, to break its ability to generate sorties. The weapon of choice for this task was the BrahMos, the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile. The primary target was the Baleri airbase. In Sindh province, a modern critical installation, Baleri housed some of Pakistan's most advanced assets, including F-16s and the remaining Iri AWACS fleet. An IAF Su-30 MKI, flying a low-altitude profile to avoid detection, unleashed its payload. The BrahMos missile detached, its ramjet engine igniting and propelling it to speeds approaching Mach 3. Skimming the terrain, it was all but invisible to Pakistani defenses. Its target was a specific hardened aircraft shelter. These structures, built of reinforced concrete, are designed to withstand significant punishment. This particular hangar, measuring approximately 50 by 60 meters, was large enough to house a high-value asset like an AWACS along with several fighter jets. Satellite intelligence had confirmed its use for sheltering Pakistan's prized surveillance plane. The impact was cataclysmic. The BrahMos, armed with a penetrator warhead, punched through the reinforced concrete roof before detonating inside. The resulting overpressure and inferno collapsed the structure entirely. Post-strike analysis, corroborated by satellite imagery from international sources, showed the hangar reduced to a mangled heap of concrete and steel. Within the wreckage lay the destroyed remnants of a Saab 2000 Iri, and, it is believed, at least 4 fighter jets that were undergoing maintenance. The strike was a masterpiece of intelligence, planning, and technology, a strategic decapitation of the PAF's Southern Command capabilities. The assault was not limited to Baleri. At Jacobabad Airfield, another BrahMos strike targeted hangars known to house F-16s, causing significant damage and destroying several aircraft on the ground. The IAF was not just fighting the PAF, it was dismantling it piece by piece. In any war, truth is the first casualty. While the Indian Ministry of Defense presented a narrative of overwhelming success, backed by satellite imagery and communications intercepts, the story from the other side was predictably different. The Indian Air Force has never officially confirmed these losses, acknowledging only technical snags on a few platforms. Whether these were genuine losses covered up for morale or disinformation spread by an adversary reeling from defeat remains a debated point in the annals of this brief, intense conflict. When the dust settled, Operation Sindoor stood as a watershed moment. It was a brutal, swift, and technologically sophisticated campaign that achieved its primary objectives. Terrorist infrastructure was severely degraded, and Pakistan's military was dealt a blow from which it would take years to recover. But the operation's true significance lay in the message it sent. It demonstrated a new India, one willing to employ overwhelming and disproportionate force in response to acts of terror. It showcased a military that had successfully integrated its most advanced platforms into a cohesive, network-centric fighting force. The S400 was no longer a theoretical deterrent, but a proven, battle-winning asset. The BrahMos missile had affirmed its reputation as a strategic weapon capable of surgical, devastating strikes. The air battle of Operation Sindoor was a glimpse into the future of warfare, a domain where battles are won and lost from hundreds of kilometers away, where data, networks, and algorithms are as important as courage and steel. It was a conflict that serves as a powerful illustration of a new doctrine, written in the skies over the subcontinent, a doctrine of power, precision, and punitive resolve. The rules of the game had changed forever.